overworking to the point of exhaustion, scary medical revelations, pure undiluted tragedy. Famous musicians can be a hardy bunch, but in dire situations like these, all they can do is hang up the mic and go home. Anybody who's ever had the privilege of watching Lady Gaga perform live knows her shows involve much more than merely singing in front of a microphone. One of the consummate entertainers of her generation, Gaga often completes cardiovascular workouts on stage that would put some professional athletes to shame. Needless to say, Gaga needs to be as fit as possible to give fans the shows she envisions each time she performs. So, as noted by CNN, Gaga was forced to cancel the remainder of her Born This Way ball tour in February 2013 after a hip injury forced her to have surgery. And in July of that year, she admitted that the setback was even worse than originally believed. She told Women's Wear Daily, "I had broken my hip. Nobody knew, and I haven't even told the fans yet. But when we got all the MRIs finished before I went to surgery, there were giant craters, a hole in my hip the size of a quarter, and the cartilage was just hanging out the other side of my hip." Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good reason to cancel a tour, and it's a good thing she went when she did, as Gaga added. "The surgeon told me that if I had done another show, I might have needed a full hip replacement. I would have been out at least a year, maybe longer." Fans on the outside looking in usually assume the life of a famous musician and pop star is always enviable. After all, such celebrities are often able to work via their schedules and travel to exotic places whenever they wish. What's not to like? Well, Selena Gomez offered a glimpse at the other side of that life while speaking with Billboard. As the story goes, in January 2014, Gomez admitted herself into an Arizona rehabilitation facility, a choice that led to much speculation about her lifestyle. However, she later explained that she'd been diagnosed with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease.
I had arthritis. My kidneys were shutting down. My mentality was just to keep going.
According to Sky News, Gomez canceled the European leg of a tour in August 2016 and explained that she, quote, discovered that anxiety, panic attacks, and depression can be side effects of lupus, which can present their own challenges. In September 2017, she shared via Instagram that she'd received a kidney transplant. And as explained by USA Today in 2019, Gomez hit out at those who criticized her body over the years. Regarding her weight fluctuations, she said, "It's the medication that I have to take for the rest of my life. It depends even on the month, to be honest." Rock star and former reality television personality Ozzy Osbourne was 71 years old at the end of 2019. Thus, it wasn't surprising when the BBC and other outlets reported in April of that year that he'd suffered a fall inside of his home. That accident aggravated a previous injury and caused him to cancel tour dates. In a Facebook note, he said, "Words cannot express how frustrated, angry, and depressed I am not to be able to tour right now." But things got even more serious a few months later. In January 2020, Osbourne appeared on ABC program Good Morning America, alongside his wife Sharon, to announce that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease after his fall. While opening up about the prior 11 months of his life, he admitted, "I'm no good with secrets." Later in January, the Prince of Darkness appeared visibly affected by the disease while on stage with Sharon at the Grammys, but it was hoped at the time that he would be able to perform at shows later in the year. Some of those hopes were dashed in February 2020. As noted by Rolling Stone, Osbourne canceled the North American leg of his tour that was originally scheduled to go from May through the end of July.
You ready? Just like we planned it.
Outside of NBA royalty LeBron James, the Black Keys may be the finest international export to come from Akron, Ohio. In less than a decade, the duo of Dan Auerbach and Patrick Carney have journeyed quite a ways from playing in front of 8 people at a small Cleveland venue. In fact, even though Mike Hourigan of Surfing Magazine spelled Auerbach's name incorrectly in a 2003 review of the album, Thick Freakness, Hourigan did write, "Black Keys are doing for blues rock what Social D did with rockabilly punk." So, who could have guessed at the time that something relating to surfing would negatively affect the band a decade later? According to the Daily Mail, The Keys were forced to cancel 12 shows from a tour of Australia, New Zealand, and Japan in March 2015 after Carney suffered a serious shoulder injury while surfing in January. It was originally thought that Carney would be able to return from the issue that April, but his recovery took longer than expected and led to the band making the unfortunate decision. Billboard provided additional information by reporting Carney had suffered a post-operative infection, which is definitely something you want to avoid touring with. Duran Duran have had their ups and downs as a group, shedding members and bringing them back over the decades. The year 2011 started out on an upswing. As a promotion for their All You Need Is Now album, members Simon Le Bon, Nick Rhodes, John Taylor, and Roger Taylor set out on a world tour. The group had fond enough memories of the experience to write a 10-year commemoration in 2021 on their official website. But the tour didn't go off without a hitch. According to the BBC, the United Kingdom leg of the All You Need Is Now tour was held up when Le Bon needed treatment for a throat condition. He recovered and the tour resumed. But in 2012, with only 4 US dates and 2 Canadian ones left, Duran Duran had to cancel. The reason this time was a suspected viral infection picked up by Rhodes. Reflecting afterwards, John Taylor told the Huffington Post that Rhodes, who he called a workaholic, kept fainting. Doctors ordered him to rest, ruling out the final leg of their tour. Rhodes offered an apology to fans, but Taylor suggested that the 2 health scares during All You Need Is Now were a sign the band would have to rethink their touring arrangements going forward.
But this morning, Linkin Park is a band in mourning.
Roughly 2 months after Chris Cornell, the lead vocalist for groups Soundgarden and Audioslave, took his own life in May 2017, Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington died by suicide on July 20th of that year. As reported by CNN and other sources, Linkin Park canceled the band's North American tour the following day. Bennington was 41 years old at the time of his passing. In August of that year, Rolling Stone documented how those close to Bennington were both shocked by the loss, but also how they felt, quote, they overlooked signs that the singer's dark side, which he called his dark passenger, a reference to the force that motivated the serial killer protagonist on TV's Dexter, had been creeping back into his life. As a response to the tragedy, in 2018, Linkin Park co-founder Mike Shinoda and Bennington's wife Talinda appeared at the conclusion of an episode of A Million Little Things, a program that deals with the suicide of a beloved family member and friend, for a public service announcement.
And we lost our very real friend.
Over 1 million people have thoughts of suicide each year.
But the majority of them recover and go on to live fulfilling lives.
Talinda also became a founding partner and executive advisor for 320 Changes Direction, which is, quote, a collection of concerned citizens, nonprofit leaders, and leaders from the private sector who have come together to change the culture about mental health, mental illness, and wellness. If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK 8255.